Hey everybody, welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel. This is an unexpected edition. I was sitting here editing video today from going to Dave's Hot Chicken's grand opening here in Tucson. And tonight is also the night Kevin Smith is going to be in town. For those that follow me, you know Kevin Smith has always been one of my go-to people, similar sense of humor. I love the stuff he makes. I've always been a big fan ever since I was about 14. Well, he's in town tonight. This will be the first time I'm not going to a show that he's doing here in Arizona. Until I had to run to the store for something. I got a call from a friend of mine. He's like, hey man, are you going? I was like, no, I'm not going this time. He's like, well, I got an extra ticket. I was like, I'm going. So we're going to go see Kevin Smith tonight. Very unexpected. So let's get ready and head downtown. We're making our way downtown a little early so I can get some dinner before the show. So we got about an hour and a half before meeting our friend, and then it's on to Kevin Smith. But the question is, where do we park and where do we eat? Do I smell a potential great Southern Arizona pizza crawl video? I don't know. We'll see. Man, I love coming downtown, but I'll be the first to say it has changed a lot from the days where I used to come hang out here pretty much 2 or 3 times a week. Sights are still beautiful. I legitimately don't know what to get to eat. I have about an hour and a half before I meet my friend, so I gotta figure this out soon. One of my favorite things always about the Rialto Theater is they always have amazing murals on the side for upcoming shows, and that's who we're seeing tonight. There is a cool little Rialto Theater shop next to the Rialto now, so I decided to get a t-shirt. That's really awesome. Oh yeah, we're definitely seeing Kevin Smith tonight. Well, we've been talking about it. Let's give it a whirl. The next stop on the Great Southern Arizona Pizza Crawl. Well, we just finished up over here at Jaime's Pizza, and I got 3 things to say initially. And I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible. The pizza was actually good. I enjoyed it. Now, was it good pizza? Not really. It was a 6 at best. The issue I have is I ate for about 20 minutes, then waited for my check for 15-20 minutes. In this time frame, nobody came over to check on, ask, or bring me the check. I finally had to go track down a random server and say, can I please get my check? I need to leave. Asked where am I sitting? I said, over there by myself. So on that, I'm gonna give them a 2. So service was pretty terrible. Pizza was okay if you're downtown, it's worth a try, but I wouldn't go out of my way for it. Sad face. One of the goals I have for this year is I want to do a whole video about this turquoise line you find all through downtown Tucson. It actually takes you to every historically significant place in downtown Tucson. It's pretty dope, actually. Now that we've had mediocre pizza, fantastic ice cream, hanging out at our bar, ran into a good friend from Tucson Comic-Con, I guess it's time to go Kevin Smith it up. We'll see you guys after the show. Man, another great Kevin Smith show. Let's go inside the car and we'll talk about it a little bit. Like I said, another great Kevin Smith show. This is probably the 6th or 7th time I've seen him live. And that's if you don't count all the times I saw him at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm really glad I came tonight, and shout out to SD, my buddy, for getting me the ticket. And the reason I'm so glad I came, a big part of the show tonight was he was talking about mental health struggles. And Kevin Smith, for those of you who don't know, has always been like, if I could have dinner with 5 people throughout history, he is 100% one of them. And I've been lucky enough where I've met him a couple times. Here, I'll put a picture in here. Everything he talked about tonight is exactly what I've been going through for the last few months mentally, where I'm having my big ups and big downs. He talked about going to Sierra Canyon here for help. I think this show tonight kind of helped me realize a few things. It kind of pushed me over that edge. Some changes I probably need to make. So thank you, Kevin, for... You're never going to see this, but thank you for saying what you said. It really did mean the world. We couldn't record anything really in the show except that little clip I just showed you. So I'll tell you what, one of the times I got to go to shows where I actually got to ask a question, I'll put that in here. I think there might be some vulgar language, so if there is, if you're younger, maybe turn away. But hey guys, thanks for another ride with us. Shout out to SD for the ticket. And let's take another ride again soon. Bye-bye, everybody, after you watch this clip.
It really was.
My name's Tommy.
Tommy, give it up for Tommy, man. Clerks, it meant something.
Clerks changed my life. My mother rented it by accident. She didn't know what it was. She just heard it was funny and I'd like it. It was the first time I ever saw anything that was my sense of humor. I was like, oh my God, my tribe. I know my people. I found them. And because it referenced pop culture, which is what I've always loved, been a comic book fan my whole life, film fan my whole life. My wife thinks I'm going to cheat on her with you at some point.
Tell her it already happened.
We can tell her she's saying. We have a show after this, so there's probably little chance it's going to happen.
Don't worry, I'm really good at Photoshop. Anyway, but no, so with Clerks and all your movies, they're always like love letters to pop culture. I actually tweeted the other day and you liked it because I saw Ethan Suplee in Boy Meets World and like, oh, this mall rat ruined everything.
Yeah.
I want to know from both of you, when was the first time like you heard your names in pop culture? Like, oh God, I'm part of the pop culture zeitgeist now. Like, where do you think you?
I don't know the first time, but the time that impacted the most, the time where I felt like I've arrived, was in The Simpsons. It took a long time. I was a huge Simpsons kid growing up and stuff, and there was an episode, Three Gays of the Condo, it was called. And at one point, Maggie gives Homer some attitude. And he leans in and he goes, "Prove me wrong, Silent Bob." And at that point I was like, oh my fucking God, man! That was awesome. I was Quentin Tarantino was a guest on Saturday Night Live during Pulp Fiction. And he said my name like at the end of a sketch. And I was like, oh, they said my name on Saturday Night Live. And then years later, Bobby Moynihan played me on Saturday Night Live. That was pretty fucking cool. Those are the moments that I remember really like popped. And then there were things that we manufactured ourselves. Like I really felt like I fucking made it when we made Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and I get to lightsaber fight with Mark Hamill. Like that was when I was like, holy fuck, this is everything. My mom and dad were there and stuff. My whole family was visiting set when we were shooting that sequence. We were at CBS Radford, the studio out in Los Angeles. And so we were doing the Blunt Cave sequence and my parents are there. And Mark Hamill's like a real sweetheart of a guy and shit. So he's like super congenial. And he was talking to my mom and he was like, what do you think of all this, Mrs. Smith? Look at this. Look at everything that comes out of your son's head. What do you think of his whole career? And my mom goes, well, it's weird. When he was a little boy, he played with your action figure. Now he's older, he just plays with you. When did you feel you'd arrived?
My first time I don't remember either. For me, I know one that stands out to me is when Eminem has wrote a song and it says he writes something and it says something like Jay and like Silent J and Bob. So he mentions Jay and Silent Bob in one of his songs, and I'm an Eminem fan, so I thought that was really cool. Definitely sword fighting with Mark Hamill. Definitely driving in the car with Carrie Fisher. Like, fucking. I mean, yeah, there's so many. I mean, for me, definitely even for Mallrats, like getting to meet Stan Lee was like. Oh my God, we're meeting Stan Lee and shit. And then working with Shannon Doherty. I was a huge 90210 fan. I tried to grow sideburns forever, and I still can't. But so, I mean, again, I feel like there's all these little moments, like he said. I don't remember the first time, but it was years. I mean, we did Clerks, and I didn't even think about anything and kept working my normal job, which was putting roofs on houses. And then he's like, hey, the movie got bought. People are going to see it. I was like, yeah, cool. And then they even wrote an article about me, which that was even a small taste of the first time, I guess, because I was like, oh my God, is this good or bad? What was the review again?
There was a review. Everyone reviewed the movie, but nobody in the first round of reviews or the reviews for Clerks ever really talked about Jay and Silent Bob. Like periodically they would reference me and be like, the director also plays a character named Silent Bob, and that was it. Nobody would ever say like, give a paragraph to like Jay and Silent Bob, the two guys outside. They talk about Dante and Randall. Mostly they talked about how cheap the movie was and stuff like that. So there was one review, and I think it was in People magazine. Leah Rosen had written the review, and it singled out Jason, and it said, Jason Mewes, you want to find the rock he crawled out from under and make sure there's nothing else like it under that rock. And so he brought it to me and he goes, is this good? I was like, that's a rave, man.
So I would say I do actually know the first time. That was like sort of like, whoa, maybe people are starting to see the characters. That's crazy. But the first time I do know, and you'd probably know the date, because he's better at this, is when Bob and I can't remember his name, showed us the first what's the word? like the figures when we pushed the
Bob
button?
Chapman.
Bob Chapman.
And we had the action figures.
But what are the
Jay and
2-ups?
Bob.
The 2-up, they showed us the
They were
first.
large versions. In order to make action figures back in the day, now they just 3D print everything. But back then, you sculpted a large version of the figure, and then they used that to tool it down to a small version of the figure. So the 2-ups, they're called, were like this big, and so we had big Jay and Silent Bob action figures that looked like the ones that Graffiti did. The Jay figure had a button, you pressed it on the back of the button, on his back, and he said like 8 different things.
Yes.
Silent Bob had a button, you pressed it, it did nothing.
And I remember we were at a comic book convention, and they came and met us in Kevin's hotel room to show us the first 2-up. Like, this is what it's going to look like. Of course, it'll be smaller and it'll be a little different. But honestly, I do remember that was like one of the first times I'm like, holy shit, dude, we're going to have action figures of ourselves. Like, we're fucking, people are going to play with us. They're going to fucking maybe fuck us. But yeah, I was super stoked. That's when
My process of elimination had to have happened once.